Hey everybody, it is Friday at 4 and I am so excited to join you this week as I always am. This is like a breath of fresh air for me every single week. So for those who may not know who I am Chanel Yarber of Bright Girl Media, which is a digital marketing agency based out of the Dallas area in Texas. And I come every Friday at 4 to enlighten, to share my thoughts for the week, and to connect with my audience because I just enjoy connecting with everybody and just sharing and um, just building community. And so that is what we're going to do today. That is what we are here for every week, every Friday at 4 o'clock. I just came back 2 weeks ago, and so I'm getting in my groove a little bit. And yeah, so just buckle up for the ride. So if you're here, I need you to go ahead and tell me who you are and where you're from. I love to be able to shout you out and know who you are. I have some regular viewers that typically come on, and then sometimes I have some new people. So go ahead and share in the comments and let me know who you are and where you are from and all that goodness. So I always try to start out my Facebook lives and YouTube lives because we're on YouTube as well. But I always try to start out my sessions with a quick shout out. And so my shout outs this week, I'm really a little fired up. As most people have been fired up this week. It's been a lot going on, like for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. It seemed like nothing was on the news except Corona. And then this week, we finally got some alternative news going on. And so everybody is plugged in, tuned in, and engaged. But my first shout out is to Judge Eric Moye. I just want to shout him out. He's been in the news behind this case with the lady who owned the salon, and she went against the shelter in place and the orders to close her business during coronavirus. And then somehow, some way, even though there was a law in place and he enforced the law that was in place, and he gave her grace and allowed her to apologize publicly and, recant whatever she had done, and kind of actually he gave her a way out. And she chose not to take the way out. And now she's being lauded as this patriot. And she has raised over $500,000 on GoFundMe. Look at America being America, right? But I just want to shout out Judge Eric Moye because he stood for what was right. He did what was right. And had that been anyone else under any other circumstances, I don't think we would be having this conversation. So I just want to shout him out, let him know that we stand behind him 110%. And yeah, just appreciate his service. And on that point, I want to also say and admonish you all. I know like there's always a lot of big to do around every 4 years around the national presidential election. This year, of course, is an election year. But we don't pay enough attention to our local elections, okay, for like our judges and commissioners and state senators and people that actually make stuff happen for us on the local level. So make sure that you start paying attention to those elections if you don't know, like when every election comes up, because all those things matter. So yeah, I just wanted to shout out Judge Moye. My second shout out, not so much a shout out, it's more of an acknowledgement. And I just want to say rest in power to Brother Ahmaud Arbery. Today would have been his 26th birthday, but his life was tragically cut short by some vigilante people. I'm not going to go there right now because that's going to require too much of my energy, but I want to shout him out on his birthday. I did do my 2.23 miles today. I've seen quite a few of my friends doing that, so shout out to everybody for standing in solidarity with that particular case. And also I want to send a rest in power to Brother Sean Reed out of Indianapolis. This week has been interesting, man. I just I don't know. 2020. Oh, 2020. I'm just, oh, 2020. But I came here today because I wanted to talk about growing through a crisis. And we can talk about it from growing a business, growing you as a person. Um, I just want to talk about growing through a crisis because I feel like we're in this situation. We're all, I mean, worldwide, everybody is in the same boat. Some people are delusionally thinking they're in different boats, but whatever. We're not going to address that. But we're all in the same boat, and I feel like we have had a collective quieting and settling and a rest. That's really what it is. It's a rest. And if you notice, I mean, everything outside, like nature is like it's just like nature is taking off. Like you can see the sky is so blue and pretty outside, and the birds are chirping, and like I feel like our world is coming back into this resetting. That's the word I want to use. It's coming back into alignment, and everybody is so ready to get back to normal. And I counter that by saying that I don't think that there will ever be the normal that we knew. I feel like we are in the midst of a quantum leap, and it's going to require each of us collectively as well as individually to grow. And I just want to talk about that. I want to talk about growing through a crisis because just because everything in our world as we know it has been turned on its axis, it does not mean that everything stops. I mean, we're 100 and I think 4 days into this thing now. I'm looking at my calendar on the wall. I don't even know. I stopped counting a while ago. But we're in the thick of it, and we're not going backwards. So what I want to say about growing through a crisis is that growth requires change. And I am 110% sure that the reason that a lot of people are raring to go back outside and, don't want to sit down. Nobody ever in America, nobody ever, we didn't really fully quarantine. We called it a quarantine, but it wasn't a, it was not a quarantine. People were still moving about daily, like going on with regular life, doing regular stuff. Um, it looked a little different. We had a little bit of a inconvenience. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, it was a little bit of an inconvenience. And then yeah, you got to put your mask on and your gloves, and you got to disinfect, and you got to wash your hands. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a full quarantine. And I say this having spoken to people who live in other countries, in Africa and also in some Caribbean islands, who have blatantly told me like for weeks they couldn't even go to the store. They couldn't go anywhere. They were like, no, we didn't go anywhere. We stocked up and we literally stayed in the house. And what we couldn't get, we either ate off of fruit trees in our yard or out of our garden or whatever. Like it was a for real quarantine. And their cases have gone down and or away. Um, but we didn't sit down in America because I feel like in order for us to fully embrace the change and to grow in through this crisis, we would have had to really, really sit still like we should have. And we probably could be beyond this right now. That's just my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm not a scientist or epidemiologist, so I'll leave those projections to them. However, growth does require change. It requires you to embrace the fact that what we once knew is no more. It just isn't. I mean, I'm talking to people daily and they're like, I can't wait to go out and, oh, Texas is I'm gonna get my hair done at the salon today. And, I already booked my appointment for my nails. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's great. But if we're gonna grow through this crisis, it's gonna require you to change more than and sacrifice a little bit more than what we have. Or else we're just going to go right back to the same old same and end up in the same place. It's almost like when you're going through a spiritual change or a spiritual growth. You can't do the same things that you used to do, or the same test is going to keep showing itself up in your face, and you're going to have to pass that test again. You have to go through that same test and go through it again. So get over the shock that this ain't the same thing. This is not 2019 anymore, honey. This is 2020, and 2020 is its own beast, okay? So get over the shock and let's move it right along, adjust and change, embrace the change. And I feel like it's a good change. It feels uncomfortable. Change always feels uncomfortable, right? That's like a lady, I've never been pregnant, never had the pleasure, but I know what pregnancy looks like. I've had more than enough friends and family that have been pregnant. Shout out to my cousin that's actually brooding her child right now. But it's uncomfortable, right? But the end result when that baby comes is a joy, right? So embrace the change, embrace the shift, know that it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to get stretched. We're in a really pregnant season right now. It looks like everything is dead, or it looks like everything is dormant, but it's really not. It's almost like planting a seed. You don't see the seed taking root until one day, boom, that plant just blossoms, and you're like, oh my God, I got a whole tree here. So embrace the change, get over the shock. Let's move forward. Let's deal with where we are and do what we have to do. Okay. Number 2. Change requires grace. All right. It requires you to give yourself grace, because who you were and the capacity that you had, the mental, the emotional capacity, and all of that stuff that we had earlier this year in 2019 and before, it's not the same. We're not able to run at the same pace. We're just not. You're going to get tired because it's a weight. I don't know if anybody else feels it's a weightiness in the air from all of this that's going on. It's a weight on us. So it's like putting on a weight vest and trying to run at full speed. You're going to burn yourself out. So give yourself grace and give other people grace, because everybody is dealing with this at a different pace and in a different way. Some people have experienced a lot of loss, whether it's loss of a job, whether it's loss of family members and loved ones, whether it's loss of their health, So people are coming out of this change. They're not the same. They're not the same people. And so you're going to have to extend grace where grace is due. And that is with yourself. Give yourself grace. If you only got the capacity to answer 2 or 3 of those emails today, and the rest of it, you just like, you know what, I can't. Don't. Don't, because you will run yourself ragged and drive yourself crazy trying to keep up the same pace in this season that you did before. So allow yourself and allow others grace. Everybody's on edge. Nobody knows what's right or wrong. Rules are changing every other day. One day they say wear a mask. The next day they say, no, don't wear the mask. And then they say, it's not airborne. You can only get it from touching people. And then the next thing you know, oh no, it is airborne and you got to be 13 to 20 feet away. You don't know. Give yourself grace. Give other people grace. Don't give stupidity grace, though. All right. I'm gonna just say that. Don't give stupidity grace. Because some of this stuff is just plain out ignorant. And I see a lot of ignorant stuff. I have seen so much ignorant stuff on Facebook in the past couple of weeks. I have had to really unplug a lot. And that's where I'm refueling myself and giving myself the space and the grace to grow through this crisis, and to recognize that everything is not for me to ingest or to respond to or to even care about. I got to deal with this sphere of influence that I have right here in front of me. And so I encourage you all to do the same. Don't feel like you got to be Superwoman and Superman right now. Nobody is expecting that of you. Give yourself grace, okay? Be flexible. Be flexible. Things change. Things are changing on a dime. Um, and if you get stuck in one way of doing things, especially in your business, and I'm going to shift into that a little bit, you're going to get left behind, beloved, in the words of Iyanla Vanzant. Beloved, you are going to get left behind if you are not inflexible and you don't want to change. And I've seen a lot of that. People just wanting to do what they want to do. And my grandma always said, a hard head makes a soft ass. You might as well go ahead and get with it and be flexible and be ready to change because it's happening whether you want it to or not. We are having to do these Zoom meetings. And yes, we don't know. I mean, God, another conference call, like for real, I got to sit here and look at your face again in this box. Like, we all tired of it. You know, people having to figure out how to use computers that never had to do that in their job because they were manual laborers, but now they, you know, their jobs aren't there anymore. Or just all the many ways, all the many things. You know, oh, I gotta order my groceries online. I can't actually go and touch my produce. Baby, it might not be good for you to be in that store with all the people breathing on you. Just let that person go ahead and pick your produce. I mean, eat it and move on and tell the Lord thank you. Like, be flexible. Be flexible. In your business, be flexible. Be flexible. Be willing to adjust and change. And maybe, you know, it's worth it for you to keep a client on if it means that you adjust some things in the way that you work with them to make it a little bit more comfortable for them. That goes back to grace. Maybe you adjust and you offer new things, right? Pivoting is not a bad thing. Staying in the game is the ultimate thing. So for me, what that's looked like is I've had quite a few people reaching out to me about doing live virtual events. And it's funny to me because last year I was talking about this and I was asking people and reaching out to churches and everything and organizations. And I'm like, you know, are you guys live streaming to your website? No, we don't do that. No, we don't do that. Mm-mm. Are you all, you know, set up to take offerings at your church online? No, no, we ain't doing that. And then all of a sudden, within like a week's time, everybody had to do it. And then it was a scramble. So don't be afraid to embrace the change and pivot and shift and do things a little bit differently. No, it don't look and feel the way that it used to look and feel because this ain't that no more. Right. But continue to grow. Don't get stagnant in the middle of this. Don't get stuck. All right. Don't wander around when the solution is right there in your face. Sometimes we don't want to embrace the solution because it doesn't look like it doesn't come in the package that we want it to. Right. It looks like work. It feels like sacrifice. And we don't want to take it. But at the end of the day, you know, had a lot of these people that I talked to last year and put the bug in their ear last year, just taking simple steps to make it happen then, it wouldn't have cost them what it cost them now. And of course, I wasn't reaching out because I knew that a pandemic was coming, and nor was I, you know, alerting them of anything and that they needed to, and it wasn't urgent. But sometimes that's how God will speak to you in your business and in your organization and all those things. It's those quiet whispers. It's those ideas in the middle of the night, those dreams, those things that you see on TV, and you're like, oh, okay, that do sound like a good idea. Okay, and you keep moving. Sometimes those are just those still small voices, right? The little whispers that's trying to redirect you and point you where you need to go. And sometimes, and especially right now, it's time to be quiet and hear so that you can fully acknowledge the direction that you need to go in. Because if you are out here flailing around doing all type of foolishness, you're gonna drown. That's what happens when you get in, you know, you get in the middle of the ocean or you get in the middle of a pool and you start, you know, flailing around and not calming yourself and floating, you drown. So don't drown in this season, all right? Um, and growth requires honesty. Honesty and an honest assessment of where you are, where you want to go, and what it's going to take you to get on the road, gas up your car, and fly down the highway. Um, the beginning of this year, and even like the end of last year, probably starting in October, I started planning for 2020. That's funny. It's funny to me now. Even as I look down on the floor and my binder is right next to me of what I was planning. Um, but as we got into this situation, after I looked at my plan and my forecast and, all of the many millions of dollars I was going to make this year, um, I had to take an honest assessment of myself and my business and my capacity and say, were you really ready for that in the first place? Did you have all your ducks in a row to receive what you under normal circumstances would have? What do you need to adjust and change about yourself? Because nothing else around you is going to change unless you change. And how are you equipped to really approach the situation? So it's going to take some real honesty. And I think, and I said this before, and I'll say it 1,000,001 times because I'm gonna stand on it. People are afraid of the silence right now, and they don't want to be still because it's causing them to have to be honest with themselves. It's causing them to have to take assessment of where they are and where they thought they were, where they thought they wanted to go, and it stings when you really got to say, you know what, you really wasn't all that. You really sucked. Like you really sucked, and everything that you thought, yeah, no, maybe next time, try again, go back to the drawing board. That was not your best effort. You could have handled that differently. All those things. And yes, we are our worst critic. And no, I'm not advocating for anybody to criticize themselves into paralyzation or fear or, self-loathing or anything like that. However, an honest assessment of yourself will help you get yourself back on the road sooner than later. So I said growth requires change. It requires grace and flexibility. It requires honesty. It requires you to look yourself in the mirror and make the necessary changes so that, yes, when this is over and our real new normal, this is a new normal in a season, but our real new normal is coming. Sit and forecast, sit and dream, right? Sit and open your mind up and think, okay, what could this possibly be 6 months from now? We don't know because it could get worse. Hopefully it'll get better. Prayerfully it'll get better. I'm of the belief that it's going to get better. It's going to get better, y'all. But still, what is this going to look like in January of 2021? Give yourself the space to sit and think and journal and conjure up new ideas and let go of the old ones. I'm telling you, it's some stuff that I have done in this season that I never ever thought I would have done. Ways that I've been stretched, things that I've been learning, things that I've been reading, picking up on, and discerning that have put me in a very reflective and positive space, more so than negative. Which, if I sit and I watch the news all day, I'll be in a negative mood. But if I get quiet and I turn all that noise off and I tune in to me and God and what the plan is and where I need to go, and I feel like that's where we all kind of need to be in that space. Turn the news off. They ain't talking about nothing new. They saying the same thing, repeating the same thing, saying silly stuff that don't even make sense. And who cares at this point, as long as you keep your family and yourself safe? Like, okay, until y'all tell me that it's gone, y'all ain't said nothing new. It's the same recycled trash. So turn that off. get quiet, sit still with yourself, and be ready to grow through the crisis. So I'm looking at some of the comments, and I'm gonna put this one up because I want to go here. COVID has been a blessing and a curse personally and professionally for me, and I think everybody can say that if they're honest with themselves. It's been a blessing for me too, and a curse for me too. Um, it's been a blessing for me because of all the things I just said, the ways that I've been able to really, really hear and dream again, like really figure out what it is that I really want to do. Because if I'm 100% honest with you, some of the things that I was doing in my business were just not profitable, not money wise, but like emotionally and spiritually, and like where my headspace, and I was just going, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing it, and I'm doing it, and I'm producing, I'm producing, I'm producing. Um, and wasn't really like able to hear, right? It was always like, I gotta go here, I gotta do. So the quietness has been a blessing for me because now I'm like, oh wow, like I feel like I can see clearly now the rain is gone. um Curse, because of the weight that I feel, and the tiredness, the weariness of watching my people suffer through this crisis, has been unexplainably heavy. That's been the curse. But otherwise, when I move beyond all that, for the moments that I can, it's really has been it's been good for me. I just told somebody yesterday, I don't even. He was like, I'm ready to go outside. I'm like, I almost don't even care about outside no more. Like, I almost don't even care. I never was a mall person like that. Well, not never, but in recent times, like I don't like to go shopping. It's already too many people in the mall. They get on my nerves, all them strollers and kids and all that other food. I don't want to go there. Restaurants, I don't save so much money. Oh my God. I looked at my bank account like right before I got on here. I was like, I am rich. Like, what? What is this? I've never seen these numbers before. So anyway, just not going out, not putting gas in my car every other day, not eating out, all every day because that's what I was doing. It wasn't good for me. I'm exercising, um, feeling good, eating at home, cooking. That's been a blessing. So I want to encourage you all to grow through this crisis. Find the silver lining in the cloud because it's there. It might be hard to see. You might have to squint your eyes real tough and maybe turn to the side a little bit. But I promise you, there is a blessing in this. And I want everybody that I'm connected to and that's watching this and, all of that that's under my influence. Because I feel like I got a little bit of influence. I don't call myself an influencer, but, somebody listening. I want all of us to come out of this on the other side, growed up and better, bigger, better, and badder than we went in. So I really just wanted to talk about that and encourage you all, to embrace the change and embrace growth because we ain't going back, y'all. We not. So thank y'all for joining me. Those are my thoughts for this week. I'm going to have some more next week. Friday at 4. And actually, next Friday, I think I'm going to have a guest. I'm not going to tell y'all who it is right now. She did say yes, and I'm going to hold her to it. But I'm really excited to bring this person to you because she is super duper dope. And she is like one of my favorite people. Okay. I'm going to say that. I'm going to give her that. She's one of my favorite people. I really love her. Love her energy. She's very passionate, very knowledgeable, and she's going to bring y'all some goodness next week. So look forward to being here next week, Friday at 4. Plug in. All right. And y'all enjoy your weekend. Y'all be safe. Texans and Hoosiers, because those are two places that I'm from and lived and all that. I've lived a couple other places, but Texas and Hoosiers, sit down. All right, sit down. I say this every week. I've said this every week that I've been back, but I'm gonna say it. Sit down, please. For me, I don't want to see a rest in peace so and so because you went and got your hair bumped, okay, and you got your nails filed. It ain't worth it. Ain't nobody looking at you anyway. Ain't nobody looking at you. Not like that. Ain't nobody studying you. Like my grandma would say, ain't nobody studying you, girl. She used to say that to me. But ain't nobody studying you for real. Sit down, be safe. All right. Shelter in place. Love y'all.